Hello guys, this is Avcoor, and I want to show you the per Whedon tier list. They updated it, and they basically say they decided to scrap the split between PvP and PvE, and this tier only shows late game PvE only ratings. Um, I have some concerns with this tier list. I'm going to show you this tier list. We're going to go slowly down, see the characters, see where they stand, and then I'm gonna show you my tier list, and we'll go into that. So I don't consider these, so I'm not worried about that. It's just once we get up here, I have a couple of issues, and so I have allowed you to see it. Now look at mine. There's a reason I constructed this tier list the way I did, because this is from my experience and me playing the game. I just don't think certain characters should be as high as they're being placed. So when we look at E and D, you're looking at some real low end tier characters. I'm not saying they're bad, but this game has limited resources. If any of you guys play this game, you understand that basically you're going to focus on 5 heroes that you like, and then you're going to use the 3 main characters. You're going to use them because they're just easy to build. And then later on in game, you can pick up some more. But you're going to focus on 5. If you're really playing this game, you're going to focus on 5 characters. That's just the way it is. Unless you're focused on 5 characters. And I'm here to help you because I made a lot of mistakes. And I will tell you not to fret because when you hit the end game, you will be able to develop more characters. But when you're speeding through content, you're going to need to use this tier list. You're going to need to look at it and apply it to your team. Like some of these characters at the top, you just need to see if you can get one. If you get one of these in SSS and SS and S tier, you just need to start developing them because they'll push you through the content and they'll be able to be used in multiple forms of content. So this is the reason why I place this guy. This guy is an underwhelming DPS, plain and simple. He's light, and later on he may be useful, but for now he's no good. This guy, he's a green warrior, but Sanakin is so much better that it just takes away from his value. And even on top of that, you get a free unit in Capet, who's a free SSR green warrior. So you already have 2 green warriors. There's just no reason to invest in him. And this is another case. Okay, you have Ballet. Ballet is a really good fire tank. So why would you invest in her when she comes with extra rune stones and extra shards? There's no reason to invest in him. Brownie is a sad case. I would like to rank him higher, but he is pretty weak. The only thing that stands out is he's an SR archer and he's blue. That's it. All the archers in the higher tiers are extremely good and they surpass Brownie. So I couldn't rank him any higher than E. She is an assassin, dark. She's free, and she does come with a leadership skill, but her damage output is lousy. I've tried to use her, but it's just lousy. And going to the next assassin, this dude actually has some potential, and I'll talk about later in other videos that if you're on a budget and you're not willing to spend on this game, his value goes up extremely high as some of the high-end assassins like Simi and Clarice and Michael, you will have to roll and be lucky in order to get these units. And if you don't want to go through that headache, he's fine, but he will fall off because spears in themselves are a really crappy weapon. They give you crit, and I guess that's cool, but they're not like axes or swords. I think they're one of the worst weapons in the game, and he has access to that as an assassin. I mean, Michael too uses spears, but her unique preference weapon is very exceptional. And if you use this character, you will want to have that. She is a generic light mage, and she does have some potential, but she's been kind of blown out of the water because at level 60, Avia can do her job. You don't even need to use her anymore. If you have Avia, Avia just totally replaces her. So personally, I just don't think you should invest resources into her. Avia can just do what she does because she's a light healer that heals and debuffs, and Avia does that same thing. There's no point of investing in her. This character is kind of unique in the fact that only on Pacific teams can he function really well. Dark characters, the best ones are super expensive to build. Like there's like a great trifecta of dark characters, dark units, but they're just hard to get. But if you do get those characters, then his value skyrockets as he plays more into a debuff strategy, and only certain characters are uniquely effective in that way. So if you invest in this character, know that he needs to be paired with dark units. The same thing with some other characters that are coming up. Avia is a good character, extremely on a budget, but there are characters that do her job so much better that she had to go into C tier because there's like one, two, three, four, about five characters that do her job better. So it kind of sucks, but obvious good. But if you progress in the game and you get certain characters, her value will drop dramatically. And I'll name some of those characters that will actually do that to her. Belette is special in the fact that she is the game's only red tank right now. I mean, we have her, but she gets free shards, free stones, and she's pretty easy to build. And on certain maps, functionally, she is the ideal unit. And then on certain maps, she's just terrible. Like once you get your hands on units like Gabriel and Richard and Cats, she starts to fall off for the simple fact that they're doing more. Um, One of her best tricks is that you hit her, and after taking so many hits, she heals, and that's pretty good. But in certain team comps, it's not enough. Like if you have Kabir, you're debuffing and tanking. If you have Richard, you're stunning and tanking. If you have Catch, you're limiting movement and tanking. If you have Gabriel, you're cleansing debuffs. You're counterattacking consistently at range, and you're a light tank, so you don't worry about getting hit by different units. And that does not happen for her. She is a good unit, and like I said, if you're playing this game smart, you will invest in all three of the MC characters. So don't feel bad about where I place her. She's still good to use. It's just that compared to other units, she is weak. Capet is unique in the fact that she is free, so her value is higher in a free-to-play account. Overall, I think she's middle of the road. Certainly, she's good as the fact that she has SSR stats. Her strategy simply is to push into your a mob, explode, and single target a unit, which is better for PvP than it is for PvE. So you'll see there are times where certain skills that she has will put her in danger, and pulling her out is more costly than it should be. And that she doesn't have like some of the flat bare bones skills. I think the fact that she actually raises attack is her saving grace. She actually buffs like the party's attack. That is an amazing skill. But there are characters that do that even better than she does. Now we come to our red archer. She is extremely good. The only problem is that you have to actually build a team around her 'Cause this character actually does fixed damage, which is better in PvP than it is in PvE. PvP, I think she would be ranked like A or S because I play PvP, and to my chagrin, I lose a lot to this character, but that's in the hands of skilled players. Unfortunately, there are times when I'm able to dispatch her because people don't understand that she has like low defensive stats. AoEs will eat her alive, and she lives in the world of Charlotte, and she lives in the world of Lena, and she lives in the world of Jen. And there are times where uh, stray a string of AoEs will get her out of the field, and that's for PvP. PvE, she's like doing a little bit of debuff, she's doing a little bit of this, and overall, there are characters that do her job better. Like you're already limited as a shooter because shooters are really poor bait units. As if you get in close to an archer shooter type unit, they cannot counterattack at one square. And if you range attack them, then they can, excuse me, then they can have an enemy phase. But outside of that, their bait potential is weak. Her offense is good. She has like great AoEs, but she suffers in her damage output. You really have to think about it. You really need other AoE people to come behind her, and there's other people who just do AoE better. Catch is good. It depends on where you play Catch. If Catch is in a PvP setup, she's SSS tier, hands down. As far as PvE, which this is a PvE tier list, she's middle of the road because she's not doing anything exceptional in PvE content. She's lowering movement, that's fine. Lena can do that, and she can attack. She's a pretty passive player where you have to position her in a place where she can be the most effective. So sometimes in PvE, you're kind of running away from the enemies because you're at a power disadvantage. Like me, if you look at my clears, I face enemies that are way stronger than me, and I'm able to clear it because I'm able to play a running game and move around the unit and pick opportunities to attack. That strategy does not work with Catch because she wants to be in the middle of things. She wants to be near the opponent, and that's where her best effects start. There are times in PvE where you can disable the guard of somebody, and then you can move units in and attack, but Lena does that. Uh, Charlotte does that. Another character that can do that. Even Lohanes can do that. They can limit movement, and because of that, she's middle of the road because there's other characters that can do her job. And if you combine them with other characters, you build a stronger team than what you would build with her in it. But certain teams she does thrive. If she's part of a water-based team, then her value goes up. Much like this next character, the thing about her is she needs to be part of a dark team. If she's not, her value goes down because her attacks rely on debuffs in order for them to be maximized and for her to be effective. So when you look at this character and you see that she's an SSR in B tier, don't look at it too bad. Much like Catch and much like her, and even Capet, if they're part of an elemental setup, their value goes up because they can synergize well with characters in their own element. And she does that pretty well. She gets recovery if she crits. So you're going to have to actually adjust your runes in order to give her crit. And you have to put her on a team that actually has debuffs. And that's why her value goes down because you actually have to compensate and build a team around her. Like the top tier characters, you can just put them in any team and they'll function well because they are so powerful. She is not like that. And that's why she's here. Saoirse is actually an extremely good unit, but she's a one-trick pony. She can only do like heavy DPS. She's not a real big support of the party. I have used her in under a nightmare, and she has been an incredible unit. Her DPS is extremely good, but sometimes she ends up hurting herself more than helping herself. As strategy wise, she's kind of like a one shot build where as soon as she gets through attacking, one of her attacks actually costs her HP, but it's like a whammy. If she's hitting like a fire unit or a light unit or a dark unit or even another blue unit, she's doing massive amounts of damage. And then you need somebody to come behind her and heal her. So you have to think about that with Saoirse, but she is really good. And Ivan Atar is good. Um, First of all, he comes with both of these characters come with leadership skills, which makes them really good. Ivan Atar is extremely good in the fact that he can pile on the bleed and PvE and PvP that works really well. It's just that he doesn't function well as assassin. He's just got low movement. This is what really hurts Ivan Atar. Ivan Atar has a lot of potential, but he doesn't get the assassin benefits. Like this guy runs in, blows up, and you hope he has disabled the enemy enough for another guy to AoE behind him. That's his strategy in PvP. Explode, follow up the explosion, kill a couple units. It doesn't always work, but if he's spec right, it does. Ivan Atar has a lot of potential in PvP content if you build him as a part of an AoE team. Simply put. It falls off in PvE content as there are other strong AoE units that we will mention. Like Susie and Susan are a really powerful AoE unit. So is Marguerite. Uh, so is Catherine. So is Lena. I mean, even Charlotte has strong AoE potential, and they're just better people who can do his job in PvE. It kind of sucks that unless you make him part of a bleed team, he loses a lot of value. If only he had some strong single targets that allow him to escape from danger, he'd be so much better. But coming to Michael, we're entering into the A range. So A units are really good. They're not like broken, but if you cannot reach the SSS, and SSS tier and you're on a budget, these characters are fine and they will carry you through the content. Michael is such a unit. Michael is a buffer slash assassin, which is good and bad at the same time. Good in the fact that she is versatile. She can fit into many teams and many boxes. What limits her is her damage potential is far lower than Semi and Clarice. It sucks that it's that way, but excuse me, it's augmented by the fact that she's buffing units as she's attacking. So keep that in mind. That when she gets her exclusive weapons, she can jump to S tier easy. This is our budget light tank, and I will tell everybody if you're on a budget, if you can't get Gabriel, she is the next best bet. She can purge herself of debuffs. She can take hits, so she has no weakness being light. She requires a lot of investment in order to raise her stats to the level that Gabriel is already at. So if you're going to play this character, she's got to be part of your main five. If not, she's not going to perform that well because you need to max out her traits, you need to max out her runes, and you need to max out her equipment in order to get the most out of her. But if that is the case, then she is very serviceable. Nola is actually one of the three characters that you get at the beginning. And depending on what team you want to build, if you want to build fire with Sekar, if you want to build water with Lena, or you want to build lightning with her, it all depends on what you want. I don't think in my opinion, she's the preferred pick. But if you get her, it's fine. She is a great wizard. She hits from range. And I think that's one of the strongest aspects of her character is the fact that she hits from a good distance. She has great stats. I did a character overview on her. I just don't like the fact that she is crit based. If you look at her kit, she is very crit based. Unless she's part of a lightning team, she's going to lose some of her potency. Her leadership skill works with lightning characters. Her whole kit works with crit. So you probably need to pair her up with someone like Simi. Simi is a good character to pair her up with. So is Sanakid. People that can put current on is really good. She could put current on for them as well. But she needs to be incorporated into a certain type of team to get the most out of her. She can play out of the box. If you want to build a more versatile team, you want a red unit, a blue unit, or a green unit, but you're not going to get as much out of her as you would if you would put her in a lightning based team. This wizard is really good, and he's an SR. Both, and she's an SR as well, and that's why these three I want you to value a little bit more because they're SR units, but they're A tier units. And that is amazing because this dude comes with a leadership skill. He also comes with healing. He also comes with AoE, fire, and he also comes with single target. This is a really good unit to build your account. If you're not a paying player and you didn't get your boy Atum, it's okay. You didn't spend money on this game, fine. This guy is a good carry. He will get you through some content. He has the tools you need in order to build a solid team. He is a support healer. He's not going to fill the healer role, but in this game, support healers are really good because the damage pressure in PvE gets really high at the end. It really does. And for you to have a guy like this is pretty useful. Just remember that his leadership skill is based on he needs 3 fire units in order to make it effective. Also, his damage output is lower, but he does buff passively, which is really good. So I want you to consider this character if you're not spending money. He's really good. Clarice is a really good assassin. Should you build into her? All depends. If you don't get Simi, yeah. If you can't get Simi, yeah. Because you're going to need an assassin in order to clear assassin content. And she has ways in order to increase her movement. If she kills a unit with a certain skill, she gets to move extra squares. That's always good. Her damage output and her defense really holds her back. The thing about it is her damage output will start to climb, but her defense will not. And that hurts her ability to apply sustained damage. Like Simi can apply sustained damage because of the fact that she can just dodge the attack. Clarice does not have that. You'll find out that the gap between Simi and Clarice is massive. I mean, absolutely massive. I can't tell you how massive this is. I can use Simi in PvE content in a way that I could never use Clarice because she cannot apply sustained damage. She gets hit and her HP is almost at 0. One good hit, even against green units, her HP is almost at 0, where Simi can actually take hits and dodge hits. She cannot, and that really hurts her in PvE content. Lohaness is the pinnacle of budget healers. This guy is so good, I'm going to level him up to 60 soon. This dude comes with his own leadership skill based on 3 water units. If you have 3 water units, it activates. It's not the best team leader skill, but on a budget, it's good. Especially when you start getting to high level content where you're going through Eris Mule's Den and when you're going against Whirlpool and you need to build a blue team in order to counterattack the fire-based teams, this guy is actually really good. This guy and this guy and this guy are part of a triplet of budget team leader units where 3 lightning, 3 blue, 3 red, and you can on a budget start building a team from that. Also consider that Lena, Sighart, and Nola all have that same type of leadership skill where it costs them 3 lightning, 3 blue, 3 red, and you can start building your fire-based teams from that. Your and lightning-based teams are your water-based teams in order to contact areas moves in. You're gonna need, if you're on a budget, you're gonna have to use those characters that way because the monsters just deal so much damage and color disadvantage is huge in this game. That's why you'll see a lot of high-end tier players use light and darks to clear because it's just easier. You don't have to worry about um, elemental disadvantage. It really hurts you. And coming back to him, that in later content, this will hurt him. As a healer, this is one of the drawbacks to him being a healer, the fact that he's not light or dark. Because no matter what you're going to do, you're going to take AoE hits and the higher level content like Ares Mule's Den, like Whirlpool. Um, even when you get to the uh, the the equipment dungeons, you're gonna take AoE damage. And if you either you're gonna like be a wonk on positioning, you're gonna be like this master strategist on positioning, or you're just gonna have to sacrifice to take that hit. If that unit is green, he's gonna die, and that's what limits him is the fact that his color holds him back. He's a generic healer on some level, but he's really good at that job. So he functions as a second tier healer to main healer, but on a budget he is sacrosanct because he is so good at what he's doing. Santa can surprise me. Um, if the characters here weren't so good, I would actually rank him into S, but the S, SS, and triple S are so good that I couldn't rank him higher. But the fact that he rose this high, being a free-to-play character that can reach rank 6 for free, and you can unlock all his traits for free, that's amazing. Sanakin is a very versatile unit. He does a lot. He can tank like for one turn. He can teleport. He can buff. He has range. He has AoE. He has single target. He does a little bit of everything. He's a jack of all trades, master of none. But he's a free green DPS. And you start building your green team around Sanakin as he's reliable and you don't have to willingly invest in him. You don't have to dump resources into him as he comes with his own resources. He comes with his own shards. And that's what makes him so special at A. This is one of the best main characters that zlonggames has ever produced. And I will say that because I played like Landgresser. And until you get SP Matthew, he's like total garbo. SP Matthew just came out recently in Landgresser. And he got good. But before that, like Matthew was garbo. This guy is making up for that. So now we enter into S, SS, and triple S. And you'll find that I rank Jin lower. I bolstered Jin up a lot, but in playtesting, I had to lower him. So that's my fault. I'll admit when I make mistakes. There are a lot of characters that are better than Jin for the simple fact that you don't have to think about how you use them. Jin, one of Jin's main tricks is he can attack before a unit attacks him. Unless he's at like 9 stars, you're never going to get the value that you see on the display out of him. He's never going to produce the results that you're looking for. Why do I say that? Is because in order to activate that, he has to be outside of a tank. So if you're in PvE content, you're playing a tank plus strategy most of the time. You don't really want free roaming units because the monsters can one-shot them. So unless he's going against a red unit or a slew of red units, you'll find that he dies really fast if left by himself. I played him under a nightmare, and unless you stack him with like warrior buffs and stuff like that, he dies pretty fast. His damage output is second to none, but unlike Charlotte, he cannot increase his turn count. He cannot attack twice in a row. In order to increase his turn count, you have to enemy phase him, where he attacks an enemy and then he gets hit. So your attacking turns increase on enemy phase, and that's never good because you cannot control the enemy phase as much as you can control the player phase. But combined with Balek and combined with Clefairy, he becomes extremely good. But some people don't have access to those characters, so I didn't want to rank him so high. And then like a person says, "Hey man, I'm not using him the way that I need to use him." And then I say, "Well, certain characters make him really, really good, and if you don't have those characters, he's not that great." And that's just the truth. And someone can come after me. I'm telling you the truth. I play tested him, and I've seen it for myself. I'm so sorry. Jin is not quad S material. He's not. I'm sorry. Let's move on. Kabir is a shocking. I kind of knew he was this good, but I had to play test him and realize that you actually have to play a different type of game to get the most out of Kabir. But once you play that game and you learn how to play that game, he becomes extremely valuable. One of the first things you know about Kabir is he puts debuffs on anybody that attacks him. That's amazing. Much like Jin, he needs like Clefairy. He needs someone like um, Alicia or someone like Balek to get the most out of him because he's got to take sustained damage to put those debuffs on everybody. But once he starts to debuff people, it starts to he starts off slow, then he goes fast. Because once debuff starts activating, his damage increases massively. But in order to get the most out of him, he needs to be at 9 stars, much like Jin. He needs to have 70% damage increase. Once he taps into that 70% damage increase, then you can understand why he gets so many warrior skills. Because if a debuff unit hits into him, he's hitting for 70% increased damage. His damage output is insane. I used him at 9 stars to test him out, and you have, like Jin, you have to have him at 9 stars to get the most out of him. With Richard, we get a little better. Richard is more of a PvP unit, but he does have value in PvE content. You just won't get the most out of his stuns, but he does slow down the game long enough for you in order to gain an advantage. The thing that holds him back is his guard skill is weaker than the other tanks that we have up here. Like even Kabir's guard skill is a little better than his, but his stat distribution is better than Kabir, and he can do a little more damage than Kabir, and he doesn't need as much setup that as Kabir needs. But if you understand how his guard skill works, he actually has to get hit in order for his guard range to extend. He has to either do damage or get hit, and his guard range extends past like 1 square, and that's never good. But the thing about it is, it's 1 cost, so you got two slots for 2 cost skills, and that makes him kind of amazing because he gets access to some really good passes and some really good skills. It's the fact that you cannot play him as a tank unless you just like squeeze all your units next to him, and that limits like positioning. So that's what hurts him, in my opinion. Lena, I want to rank higher, but I know that would be biased, so I didn't rank her higher. I use her so much, but I can testify that Lena is one of the best wizards in the game. As far as practical application and use, she's really good. Like both Jen, Richard, Lena, they come with team leadership skills. So just keep that in mind in this tier. These guys carry leadership skills, and he carries the easiest leadership skill in the game. Because all you need is a warrior, healer, and tank. So that basically means if you make this party, he'll always have a leadership skill available. Anyway, Lena is the start of, like I was saying, the blue. She has 3 blues, Nola has 3 greens, Sigurd 3 reds, and you're able to build a team around her. Much like Richard, much like Kabir, much like Atum, you start to see the foundations of the mono-based teams. Lena adds to this being able to have multiple ways of putting slow on people and dealing extra damage based on slow. I think that's one of the passives that allows her to start to meld a strong blue team. But she is so functional outside of that because her AoEs actually, her two big AoEs actually just put slow on people. That's amazing. And the fact that she has two movement after she performs an action, even more amazing. Atum is a high volume DPS unit that if you hit him and he gets close to critical HP, his HP skyrockets and his stats go up. The reason he's not ranked higher is much like Kabir, much like Jin, he needs to be at 9 stars in order to get the full effect of what he can do. But he's just more functional than Kabir and Jin at lower stars. His damage output is incredibly good. In fact, he has skills that allow him to assist the party. He has a attack buff. He has a skill that once he uses his skill, if at least 2 units attack in his parameter, they get increased damage, which is more important than you think. If you play the game the way I do, or at the level I do, it's more important than you think. And one more thing I'll actually say about him is in PvP, he is an excellent character. His AoEs are devastating. So Atum is a character to watch out for because you will see more of him as his stars get higher. You'll see more of this guy. Really good character. Alicia the Fourth is a really great healer. The reason she's not ranked higher in the double S and the quad S tier, and the triple S tier, I mean, is the fact that other healers do her job better. In SS and triple SS, there are just healers that do her job better. And you're starting to see Avia get replaced once you see characters like her, Lohanes, and even him, that Avia gets weaker because they are able to do so much more than heal. And one of the best aspects of this character is her stats. She has strong tanking stats. She can take hits really well. So AoEs are not a problem for her because that's what usually does healers because they're always hugged up to a tank. But also, if you needed to use her as a bait unit, she's one of the strongest bait healers in the game. The other two characters that are above her cannot be bait units. They just can't do it to the same level that she can. So she opens up strategy because she can actually be a free roaming unit. And also, she actually has increased healing in her kit that allows you, in order to build runes outside of the normal healing rune that every other healer has to get, she doesn't need that. She can actually increase her magic damage, or if you wanted to, increase her defense or HP. So keep that in mind with Alicia. There's other builds for her to use. Catherine is where we get into double S tier, where we get some broken units. Um, Catherine's the beginning of the broken units that we begin to see. Catherine actually makes her own little mobs. If you're a character that can like make other units, disposable units, you're already at the top of the food chain, and Catherine does this extremely well. The reasons why she's not like way up here is because in order for you to get the maximum effect out of her, she needs to be at 9 stars. But even at lower stars, she functions pretty well. She's head and shoulders above the rest of these characters, but just in her pool of peers, she's a little lower because she actually needs those extra stars in order to get the most out of her effects. But first thing first, she is one of the core pieces of the dark team. Her, Kabir, Susie and Susan, Alicia the Fourth. You're starting to see like the pieces of the dark model team come together, and you can pull from whatever you want down here. But she provides the debuffs that Susie and Susan need, that Kabir needs. She has great damage, and she also has great support with her puppets. So if you get Catherine, and she's like one of your only high tier units, she's kind of a must build. This is character is another must build, more must build than even Catherine, because she's like the strongest SSR archer in the game. And when you look at her and you look at her, you're gonna see that the gap between their mechanics is huge. First of all, she has a skill that allows her to move 2 extra squares, and in those 2 extra squares, she gets extra attack. That's so important for PvP and PvE. It allows her to actually pressure into the enemy, and also once she does that, she gets increased damage. So I highly rank this character because once she gets her unique weapon, her range becomes astronomical. She can attack from 2 to 3 squares away. That's insane, and she does such massive damage that once you get her rage skill, she becomes like absolutely broken. The amount of DPS that she can deliver is absolutely insane. The reason she's not ranked higher is because that's all she does. She's not like a buffer or a support or not even good at debuffs really. She's just like a pure offensive unit, and that's fine. But these characters up here can do more than that. And there's nothing wrong with her being that way because she's an excellent unit. If you actually get her as a unit, she's kind of a must build. She is a must build. She pretty much is a must build. She's pretty much a must build. Sighart is another must build character. They rank Sighart way up here, and that's not the case. He's not a character that is triple S material, and that's fine. But the simple fact is, he is one of the pinnacles of PvE warriors. Like, when you look at Charlotte and you look at Sighart, this is what you want from a warrior. The difference between Charlotte and Sighart is Sighart has way more sustain than Charlotte, and Charlotte has more burst damage. Sighart also actually does like solid debuffs and strips debuffs, strips buffs. He strips buffs and reverses buffs. Charlotte does not do that. Charlotte actually takes away movement, which is actually more important on some level than what he does. But his ability to sustain actually makes him an incredible unit in raids and PvE content, pretty much all content in general. He falls off in PvP a little bit, but the simple fact that his color holds him back as Charlotte and Jen and Nina are consistent units in PvE content and PvP content. It makes him good against Richard, which he's a good counteractor to Richard. But if you see Richard, you're probably going to be in trouble because good Richard players don't get near Sighart. They wait and stun Sighart for other units in order to hit him. So keep that in mind when using Sighart, that not only is he good, the reason he's not higher is he's locked to use one of his passives, the regeneration passive. He's kind of locked into using that because it does so much for him that he becomes a predictable unit. For him to recover HP and then get 1 extra movement is pretty phenomenal, but it stops him from diversifying himself. So keep that in mind. Marguerite is where we're getting closer and closer to just absolutely broken characters. Marguerite and Susie and Susan are pretty much neck and neck. The reason why Marguerite is a little lower is because she doesn't come with her own leadership skill. And that's the only difference between her and Susie and Susan. But you're seeing the foundation of light team being built here. So you got her, you got her, you got her, and her. And you're seeing the components of the light team being built as this, I think, this is the strongest mono team available. And you can pick what you want from here. Probably Michael. And you start to see the components of the mono light team. The thing that makes her exceptional is because she can do so much. She buffs, she heals, she teleports, and she actually removes debuffs, which is pretty amazing. She's doing a lot, and she also has increased damage, and she's light, so she has no weakness. So she's a pretty effective unit. It's just Belek does more healing than she does. It's Susie carry a leadership skill, and that's stopping her from being like the top dog in SS, but it's not by much. Susie and Souza, like I said, are the components of the strong dark team. She's pretty much the bozo of this game. And if you get these characters, they are must build. Susie Souza is a must build character. If you have her, you must build her because you're getting so much. She debuffs, she does damage, she teleports, and on some level, she's kind of a leadership character as she actually marshals dark units very well. Her whole kit synergizes with so many dark units that it's hard to not try to build a dark team once you get her. But if the components are not there, she still functions on her own. The reason she's not SS or triple SS is because she is kind of limited. Like these characters are super versatile, and she's a little less versatile than they are. But that's not a problem because she's doing so much for your team. Belek is the closest unit to being triple S for a couple of reasons. She's healing, she's doing damage, she's supporting, she's buffing, she's doing everything. The reason she's not like triple S is because these four characters above her are doing so much more. But that's not to say that this will change. Maybe she goes up, she won't go down, definitely. She won't go down, definitely. But she is an amazing character. She's just doing too much. She can attack and heal, and her rage skill actually allows you heals and gives you like passive damage. And she passively heals. There's just too much she's doing for your party. It's really insane that they made a fire healer this good, but they did, and I'm glad that Belek is part of this game because she makes the game so much more interesting. So now we're looking at the creme de la creme. The reason I put these characters up here is because these characters define and carry your account. If you get any one of these four characters, your account changes. Literally. I have all four these characters, and this is why I play at the level that I do. It was by luck. This banner here, where global comes, I'm going to wail on this banner because these characters are so good. This is triple S. These characters are absolutely broken. Simi is absolutely broken. Simi is the best assassin in the game. Every other assassin has to do something that she does in order to be a decent assassin. She does not have AoE because AoE is not necessary for an assassin. Assassin is a single target unit that kills units and runs away. Simi does this with the best of them. She is the best of them. She is the pinnacle of what an assassin is supposed to do. She is so good that she can like 1v1 like Water Demon and still survive. And Water Demon hits like a truck. I know she's green, but Water Demon hits so hard that even he has to take a break. Simi with her skill actually can just dodge. Simi can actually pick a unit and attack him and not take a hit. That is so good. Simi is so good. I mean, she has weaknesses. Her color is a weakness, I guess, and the fact that she is a assassin. But these things are augmented by the fact that she deals ridiculous amounts of damage without taking as much damage. And their two banner is so important that I urge every player who is going to global, if you want to whale on any banner, this is the banner to whale on. These two characters are summoned side by side, and you need a copy of both of them. I'm so glad that I got a copy of each of them. I will never regret it. Simi, you'll never regret getting Simi. She does so much for your account. Gabriel. The fact that Gabriel wasn't triple S made me question the whole tier list in the first place. Gabriel is triple S material. The fact that they didn't have her at triple S let me know that that tier list was flawed. She's doing so much for your account. I know she has low physical defense, but that's fine. Runes can get past that. And her stats are good, and she has no weaknesses. First of all, she has an AoE that can heal. She has a single target attack that can heal. Her guard skill actually removes debuffs. She's the perfect tank. She does everything you want her to do. No questions here. She only gets better with time. Sorry, she's triple S. Clefairy is triple S. I'll go over her, but there's no need. Anybody who plays the game knows what Clefairy does. She has Act Again. She has great AoE heals. She heals, and then she has passive heals. She is the perfect healer. The only thing that holds her back is her stats, and you can only make a character so good. So there's nothing wrong with Clefairy. She's pretty much the perfect healer. And notice that these characters can fit into any team, and these characters pretty much can fit into any team. So once you get these characters, it doesn't matter how much you invest in them, you'll never regret it. If we come to Charlotte, she's a last character, but I think she is the strongest character. I was against it at first, but Charlotte is doing so much for your account. She gets past elemental weaknesses, like she attacks in the green units, and she can actually kill them. She actually gets Act Again. She actually can block and tank for you. She can take away. She can take away movement. She has AOE's. She does everything, and she gets Act Again and increased stats. And on top of that, if she dies, she can revive again. She's the only character that has auto revive in her kit. There is nothing to say about her except she's the strongest character in the game. If you get her, build her. If you're not building her, you just don't want to play the game at a serious level. But that's it, guys. If you like my content, the like, share, subscribe button. I'll come back with you with content like this as I think it helps the community grow and mature. It allows you to make the right decisions concerning your account and concerning your gameplay. Have a great day and good night.